All right. All right. Thanks everybody for joining us for the Wednesday, is it May 1st? Road to Success for Florida PTA. Today we're going to be talking about audits, basically all things audits, from appointing in an audit committee as well as to submitting your audit. And I'd just like to take a brief moment to introduce our EC members as well as some board of directors members. And then I'll pass it over to Gene Hovey, who will formally open up the conversation, as well as introduce the wonderful and amazing office staff. And I'm just going to go from left to right on my screen, so please don't raise your hand because it will mess up the order and what we see. And we'll start with our executive committee member, Karen Mazzola.
Good morning, everyone, or afternoon.
All right, and Karen is our vice president for educational development. And I also believe that Melanie Williams is on the call. She's our secretary.
I am. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
All right. And as far as board members, I believe I see Vanessa Blasek.
Hey, everyone.
All right. And that is it for now for our EC members and our board of directors members. And Jean, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today, we're going to go through the audit paperwork that Florida PTA has developed to help you conduct your annual audit that is a required compliance part of being a local unit or county council in Florida PTA. And I'm going to introduce our staff members. Heather Tisco is our membership development coordinator. She's on the call with us. Heather? I know she's here.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you, Heather. Susan Kasarik is our communications coordinator. Susan is here this afternoon.
Hello.
And certainly last but not least is Kimberly Adamski, who is our compliance coordinator, and she is going to present the audit presentation. Kimberly?
Hi, good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here.
Oh, I forgot one thing. If you have a question, if you'll put it in the chat, because we're going to hold questions until the end, and then that'll help us get to all of the slides, as well as hopefully answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Jean. Hi, I'm Kimberly Adamski, and I am your compliance coordinator at the state office. The information that we're going, oh, sorry, my bad. Okay, so we're going to start this meeting off like we do every meeting with our mission, with the PTA missions in mind. So the PTA mission is to make every child's potential a reality by engaging and empowering all families and communities to advocate for all children. The information that we're going to provide today can also be found in your kit of materials, the Section 3, the Dollars and Cents Financial Guide and Best Practices for PTAs. And as Jean said, please leave your questions to the end or put them in the chat and we'll get to them assuming we have time. So a show of hands, how many people are overwhelmed with the thought of doing a financial audit? Yeah, I can see a lot of us are. So, but we're going to break it down, make it super easy and go step by step through the financial process. So the first thing we're going to talk about is why we have to do the audit. The reason that we have to conduct the annual audit, there's several reasons. One, we're a tax exempt organization, which means that we're open to public inspection, and we must ensure that we're reporting the use of those public charitable donations in a fiscally responsible manner. Another reason was we have to meet our 501c3 IRS requirement and Florida PTA compliance requirements that are also found in your local unit bylaws. We must certify the accuracy of the PTA books and records of the treasurer, and we need to reconcile the checkbook balance with the bank statements and the financial account balances. We also want to ensure that the membership of the association's resources and funds are being protected and managed according to the best practices, and to determine which IRS Form 990 we have to complete, which we do every year. And this also helps us to remain in good standing with IRS and Florida PTA. So when is the audit conducted? The audit is conducted annually at the end of the fiscal year running July 1st through June 30th. When the last bank statement is received is when that's when you can begin to prepare for the audit. Or another time that you would do an audit is if a treasurer resigns sometime during the fiscal year, then you'll need to complete an interim audit. That audit must be completed before the new treasurer takes office. Additionally, and unfortunately, if funds are ever suspected to be missing or misappropriated and not used in conjunction with the approved budget by the membership. If that should ever be the case, please do not make any accusations or attempt to complete the audit on your own. Contact your county council, your region rep, or the Florida PTA for assistance. A few key things to note, like I said, is the fiscal year is for every local unit is July 1st through June 30th. And although it's not required to do so, other than the treasurer's position, it is best practices to conduct an audit when any board of directors member who's a signer on the bank account or who has access to any of the financial accounts resigns. So by completing an interim audit, you're protecting the officers of the PTA and should be removing access to all financial accounts from those who no longer serve on your board of directors. It's also important that all funds be deposited or transferred into the PTA bank account prior to the close of the fiscal year on June 30th so that the books can be reconciled accurately. This includes any cash on hand, your petty cash, your cash boxes, checks, PayPal, Stripe, Square, Cash, Venmo, etc. And please note, although I said those things like Venmo and Cash App, Florida PTA highly discourages the use of any apps like Cash Apps or Venmo because they're connected to an individual's phone number or email address and not to your local unit. So next is who conducts the financial audit. The executive board appoints 3 PTA members, or if the local unit's gross receipts exceed 200,000, may hire one outside accountant or professional auditor to conduct the audit. Members of the audit committee must not have been signers on the bank account, must not have been related or in the same household as the president or treasurer, and did not handle or have access to PTA funds during the fiscal year being audited. Florida PTA highly does recommend that any newly elected incoming treasurer serve on the audit committee. That'll help them to get familiar with the audit forms and what items they will need when the audit comes around after their term is up. So now that the audit committee has received the financial records, they can begin the audit. So how do we do the audit? You'll start by completing the top portion of the audit. This is pretty much basic knowledge, your PTA's local unit number, the date that it's going to be completed, who's completing it, who you contact. Typically, that's usually the treasurer that you would contact regarding any questions that you might have on the regarding the audit. So and one thing that we strongly encourage is to make sure that you put your full PTA name, not any abbreviations, as we have 1,400 local units. Some, I can't tell you how many Lawton Child Elementaries, probably 6 or 7 we have in several different counties. So it is super important that you complete it with the full name and your county and don't make any abbreviations. So if you don't have your local unit number or you can't find it, if the audit committee can't find it, it's fine to leave that space blank. The audit committee contact person should be a member of the audit committee who's filling out the form, and they should be available if there's any questions regarding the audit. So make sure that you do complete the form with the contact's address, phone number, or email address where they can be reached. If you do not hold a board or committee position, list the PTA position just as a regular PTA member. Make sure to fill in the year that's being audited. And since typically we're completing the audit from the end of the year, completing the audit through the end of the year, we include the entire fiscal year, July 1st to June 30th. Even if you've completed an interim audit, and that say the interim audit was up from, July 1st through April 30th, you'd still want to complete the end of the year audit for that entirety of the year. Should be pretty simple, especially if you have the interim audit. Now you'd only need to really kind of add into that the April through June. The next portion of the audit form is section A. This is keep in mind that these are just a checklist of the items, but it's not all encompassing to the financial records that your PTA may have, and Florida PTA does not require any local unit to use any specific software for accounting, but the audit committee will review the checklist and start going through the treasurer's binder or the electronic documents for the different items that are on this list. When the document is located, mark that appropriate box. And there's a helpful hint is to put a little sticky note or placeholder for the documents that you've located to make it easy to find them when answering the questions in the next section of the audit form. If you're unable to locate the items on this list and it's certain things like financial statements, please reach out to the treasurer for the information or ask for guidance or clarification as needed. So we're going to talk a little bit about the highlighted items on here. As in any financial review, you need to be aware of all forms of income and expenses. To complete the information accurately, you need the financial statements from all PTA accounts. Again, like I said earlier, and it's super important, we discourage using any of those apps like Cash App and Venmo, Square, because they're connected to individuals. That makes it more difficult when transferring your treasurer and the information to the next person who does not have that second step verification on their phone. In there, and the second thing that's super important is your electronic banking agreement. It is required and stated in your bylaws on Article 4, Basic Policy, Section H. The agreement must be signed by all board members who are issued a debit card. This form can be found in that form section of the Financial Guide and Best Practices in the kit of materials. Additionally, you want to make sure that your PTA has proof of insurance. All PTAs must carry it. Some local or county councils, when you attend training or you pay your dues, they can provide you with the information as they may have one overall policy in their county. You'll need to check with your county councils to find out if your county carries that. Otherwise, you would need to contact an insurance company quite like AIM or Ravina. They're also inside the kit of materials. There's other options, but the type and the amount of coverage is up to your local unit and based on that and the school district's requirements. The next is your monthly treasurer's reports. They must be included as those are also required in your bylaws, and those can be found in Article 7, Section 5, that the treasurer shall present a financial statement at every meeting of the association and at other times when requested by the board of directors, and shall make a full report at the annual meeting. Additionally, you'll need to have the approved budget, and the budget must include the treasurer's documentation so that the audit committee can review and confirm that the funds were in fact spent in accordance with the membership's approved budget. You'll also want to have a copy of the IRS 990, and it should be included even if it is the short 990N, but that is to ensure that you have satisfied the IRS requirement from the previous year. Additionally, for those units who do file the IRS 990EZ or the 990 long form, the previous 990EZ is needed to complete the net assets and the balance portion of the 990. So you want to make sure that's included in that binder. Lastly, a copy of the Florida PTA stamped approved bylaws should always be in the treasurer's and every board of directors binder, as they serve as a guide in the governance requirements for each local unit PTA. Additional financial documents that may be in the treasurer's binder are listed here. And again, because local units have different programs, projects, all documentation should be provided in accordance with the best practice as outlined in the financial guide of the kit of materials. If any of the documentation has not been provided or additional information is required by the committee to be able to conduct a fiduciary responsible audit, it is recommended that the treasurer or members of the local unit's board of directors are contacted to provide the documentation. Additional assistance can be provided by the county council if needed. Now we're going to go on to section B. There are 18 best practices questions. I know only 17 are on the screen, but there are 18 that pertain to your PTA. Please read each question fully before selecting yes or no. If you're unable to answer yes or no for any of the questions, except for those that don't pertain to you that aren't applicable. For instance, if you're on question number 10 and 11, if you did not purchase gift cards, you can leave those two blank because they don't pertain to your PTA. However, if any of the other questions do, and you find that you don't have the information provided to be able to select yes or no on that, or you would select no on that, and you want to make sure that you include that in your audit findings, and we can talk about that a little bit later. Now, question 18, that refers to the number of memberships sold and the number of memberships actually, the dues that were paid to the state. When reviewing the membership reports, if the committee finds that there's an outstanding dues owed to the state at the time of the audit, please be sure to notify the treasurer immediately. This can be due to an oversight in the last minute in a last minute member or a miscalculation for the prepaid membership dues for the upcoming year. So definitely reach out to make sure that these two numbers do match. If you need help finding the dues, if they're not available to you in those documents, one of the board of directors can also look through Member Hub, and all your officer or all the members should be listed in Member Hub because that is the only way that they can get their dues card. So, and it is so important for the membership dues to be paid to the state because from all local units, because they're entitled, all members are entitled to the benefits of being a member of Florida PTA and National PTA. Also, the number of paid membership members the unit has determines their voting delegates that they're entitled to at Florida PTA Leadership Convention in July. Additionally, the portion of the membership dues that are paid to the state are not included in your gross receipts reported to the IRS 990 EZs or long forms. So it's important to know those numbers. And we're going to skip the signature page portion at the end of the page right now and move on to the page 2 of the audit form. So if you're using the fillable form that's on the Florida PTA's website, the top portion should have already populated for you. If not, please complete this section. We only ask that it's completed again, just in case the pages are somehow separated. Don't forget to review the checkbook and include the beginning and ending check numbers on the lines provided. Now we're going to get started on the financial portion of the audit. As you see here, the financial portion includes the beginning balance, income, expenses, outstanding checks, and the ending balance for all financial accounts. Florida PTA has created a great Excel document that can assist you with this financial portion. I believe that the link can be put in the chat to download and save the form. So this is the summary of the worksheet. In the summary, you'll start by looking at your beginning balance, which is row 6, column B. The beginning balance is all funds, so as of July 1st. So you would add up the beginning balances from all your financial accounts. This includes your checking, savings, PayPal, petty cash, cash box, and enter that amount here. Then you're going to check the last year's audit form, line 8, and make sure that that balance matches the ending balance from the previous year. Your ending at the end of the year should match that beginning balance. If it doesn't, please make a note of the difference in your audit findings. If they do match, that's where you'll go back and you'll enter that on line 1 of the audit form. Next, you'll review and add up the income from all accounts and enter those deposits on row 6, column C. That includes, again, your PayPal accounts, everything that you have transferred over by the end of the year should all be recorded on that bank statement, or at least you've added all those statements up together and included all of your income. Do the same for all of the expenses and enter that amount on the expense line. And include any of those, if you have any interest payments, you can enter those in row 6, column E as well. As you see here, the form will make the calculations for you and populate the balance on row 6, column F. You'll repeat this step for each month, with the last month ending in June 30th. Once completed, review the checkbook and other documents to see if there are any outstanding checks that have not posted on the account statements. You'll want to record that amount on row 18, column D. Once completed, then let's look at row 19. The amount on row 19, column C, is the total amount of income and deposits made for the entire year, and this amount is entered on line 2 of the audit form. Next, you'll add up all the amounts from line 1 and 2 of the audit form and enter that number on line 3. Now we'll look at the financial account summary worksheet, row 19, and that column D, this is the total amount of expenses made for the entire year, and this amount is entered on line 4 of that audit form. Then you'll subtract your expenses on line 4 from the total income of 3 and enter that on line 5. I know this sounds a little crazy, but that's the total book balance or amount of the funds that will be carried over to the next fiscal year beginning July 1st. Next, you're going to look at the year end, the date ending balance on row 17, column F, and verify that this amount matches the total amount we calculated from the financial statements only. And again, we'll answer any questions if you have any questions on that at the end. Next, you'll enter the amount of outstanding checks, roll call, and put, if you have any outstanding checks, you'll enter that amount on row 18, column F, on that line 7 of the audit form. Then list the date, the check number, the amount of the check, the name and the phone number for whom the check was made out to. This information must be entered in order to ensure that the incoming PTA leaders are able to properly reconcile their records. Additionally, if a check remains outstanding, the contact information is readily available for the new leaders to follow up. I know that that currently is not what's on the audit form right now, but we are working and we will be changing up the audit form prior to the June 30th, and that information will be on there. Then after the outstanding check information has been completed, you'll want to subtract the amount on line 7 from the amount on line 6 and enter that amount on line 8. The amount entered must match the balance in all financial accounts and must reconcile with line 5. If these two amounts are different, you must recheck the outstanding checks and deposit to ensure accurate records. If you need assistance, please reach out to your county council or region rep. This next section only pertains to those local units whose income on line 2 is greater than $50,000. If it's less than $50,000, you can skip this step altogether. As I mentioned earlier, we were discussing the audit findings later. Well, it's later. So consider the following 3 of the options listed and choose only one. If the books were correct and all the information was provided, check box 1. If you found that there were problems such as, missing documents, receipts, or no insurance purchased, please write up your findings and suggestions and include them with the audit. This will help the new incoming board. If you find that there were significant problems, please check the last box and write up the findings and contact the county council for assistance. All 3 audit committees must sign and print their name on the audit form unless a professional auditor was used, and then he would check the box for professional auditor and sign their name. Once you've completed and signed the audit, upload the completed audit on the GiveBack's website under the compliance tab, or send a copy to Florida PTA no later than August 31st each year. Or you can email the audit to audit@floridapta.org. We will, however, say, though, that putting it on GiveBacks is the absolute best way to get your audit confirmed and load it up and have it available to the next members. So now that the audit is complete, you can file the IRS 990. If, again, like we stated before, typically it's your board members who do it. If the audit committee is unaware of how to do this, then they would just have, send it back to the board. However, if the board knows how to complete it or the treasurer is available, we want it completed as soon as possible. Please don't wait until it's due on November 15th if you can. But if you do not, and you do not need to have Florida PTA confirm that or approve the audit before you file the 990. And if your PTA has a gross receipts under 50,000, the 990 e-postcard takes less than 10 minutes to complete. And 7 of those minutes are only waiting on confirmation that it actually was submitted. So it's super quick, super easy. And the IRS has it's a free and easy way. I see sometimes that they're submitted and local units have paid $80 to do it. We ask, please do not do that. That's not fiduciarily responsible. It is completely free to do it right through the IRS website. However, if your PTA has gross average receipts of over 50,000 for the last 3 years, or you normally file the 990 EZ, make sure that you file the 990 EZ. You can reach out to your county council for assistance if you need help filing these forms. Once they have completed, just as with the audit, you will upload the 990 into your GiveBack account under the compliance tab. And now if anybody, it's question time. Sorry, I kind of breezed on through that really quickly.
Tiffany Graham has her hand raised. Tiffany, if you want to come on live.
Hi, sorry about that. Okay, so I had a quick question. We had a question from a local unit sorry, because givebacks allows you to take memberships for the upcoming year. If they take memberships for the upcoming year before they have done their final audit and they want to send the dues to state, how is that reflected? Like, how does that affect their audit when it comes to their bank statements not being aligned because it's next year's dues?
So if you've already deposited it and already paid the upcoming, that you would just put that in your audit findings to allow, because everything is coming out of that fiscal year. So if it happened prior to the June 30th, you would reflect it on there, but don't reflect those membership numbers on that audit form, because those membership numbers will be for the following year. The only thing that you're reflecting that would be included would be that financial. So that's like saying similar to you having an outstanding check. You want to note it in that report that, hey, we had, they're not outstanding deposits, but they were included in the previous year. So that therefore making our book balance and our bank balance, look like once those are paid out to the state after that, or once they're reconciled at the beginning of the year, then there shouldn't really be any issues, as long as like on that, like I said, on that audit form, you don't want to put, you just want that number 18 line. You just want to put what was for that year, and then what you paid for the state for that year for those members, and just make a note of it so that the next board knows.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
All
Don
right,
Gilbert,
go
do you want to,
to
Don?
Don. I was gonna say that Cecilia had posted in the chat before
Okay.
Don. So Cecilia, if you wanted to ask your question.
Thank you. Yes, what happens if we do not uphold a new incoming treasurer during elections? Who signs the audit?
So if you don't have a treasurer, you can't have a PTA. So I'm not sure I
Correct.
understand.
Yeah, that's my question, because not that many volunteers are considering the board member positions. So this is my last year and as a president, and I've already done treasurer and I'm moving on to another school. So I'm just looking at all the possibilities of what happens if we do not get at least the 3 members to continue the PTA, which is the president, the secretary, and the treasurer.
Have you reached out to your county council or region rep?
No, I have not.
Yeah, if you need to reach out to your county council or region rep, and they can assist you with ways to help find PTA members to be officers in your PTA. And if you
Okay.
need to know who that is, they're on our Florida PTA website under the About Us tab.
Okay, yeah, because we're gonna have election or our last meeting on Tuesday. So I'm gonna see what comes out of that, and if there's not really a group that's gonna continue this, that's my fear of it. We can
Yeah,
still do
I
the
would
audit,
reach out right away to your county council president or region rep.
or they can go ahead and give advice for that meeting.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Cecilia. Don, what's your question?
Good afternoon, all. Don Gilbert, Sunset Lakes Elementary PTSA. Just a question regarding the upload of our filings on Give Back. I guess I don't know if it's within your realm of response or if it's a Give Back thing. I've uploaded documents and I'll get it's been rejected, but then I'll get an approval email. So is that something on givebacks or?
No, that's totally me. So
Okay.
when I go
Thank
in and
you.
I review,
Okay.
at certain times, we may have documents like your bylaws. If your bylaws have not been stamped and approved by Florida PTA, then they'll be rejected because we have to pull them off of there, because the only ones we want that are up there are the ones that have been approved and stamped approved by Florida PTA. So you may get that initial rejection notice, and then your bylaws will be reviewed and stamped approved, and then they will be uploaded for you. So about the same time that you'll get an email with your bylaws, your whole entire board will get that email confirmation. It'll also then be uploaded and it'll be approved onto the member hub. So anytime that you do get that rejection, if if let's say that day, because typically if there's other reasons, like the audit form isn't completed correctly or it's the wrong 990 submission, I will either put in a rejection notification in there to let you know which one it is, or simply tell you to look out for your email, because I will send you an email to follow up with what it is that needs to be corrected. Otherwise, check back like the next day. Typically, it's usually within the hour that corrected document will be put up there, and you'll be able to see that in the same compliance, so you can kind of ignore that rejection after that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that clarification. I was a little confused with it. Thank you.
And Karen, you have a question?
I did. I'm going back to the member who questioned about not having the 3 officers. My question relates to that in the form of submitting the audit. Can they submit their audit, because it's an IRS requirement, without a signature of the new treasurer, so that they are in compliance with the IRS rules?
100%. We definitely want you, and that's where if you want to submit it at audit@floridapta.org and send that in an email and say, hey, we've reached out. We don't have an incoming treasurer. We can help you with that by confirming your audit and then getting you in contact with your county counsel or your region rep who can assist you with that. But absolutely turn in that audit before the 31st, even if you cannot get those signatures, because that has to be done. That is it keeps you in compliance with Florida PTA and the IRS.
Thank you for that follow-up question.
And so just checking to see if there are any other questions. Please raise your hand or just come on live.
Hi, I have a question. My name's Jennifer Simon from Plantation, Florida, Central Park. My question is going back to the first one in regards to the 2024-25 new members. So I had a kindergarten orientation 2 weeks ago, and I had about like 3 families sign up. But when I go into Givebacks, it doesn't give me the option to pay for those new members, like submit my dues. So I'm wondering, is that something, do I have to like send in a check instead, or how does that affect the audit? I'm kind of going off the same question from earlier.
Heather, are you on? You can answer that.
Yes, Jackson.
Heather?
Hi, sorry about that. I was trying to figure out how to do the slideshow and so the give back site, I wasn't sure if they were letting people send it now or not, but you can definitely send a check.
Okay, I just didn't know if I do I need to pay that now? Like, do I need to include that in the audit, like a prior participant said? Or do I wait for them to ask me to remit the dues? I'm just curious if I need to like note it on the audit.
Dues should be collected and sent as they're collected and sent to Florida PTA with a notation that they're for 24-25. Kimberly, could you go over again how they record that in the audit?
Yeah, so you just wouldn't put that on that line 18. You only want to include the numbers that you have for the like right now would be the 23-24 year. But you would want to ensure that you are listing it in there on that audit that, hey, for the 24-25, we making that note in the audit findings that we did collect 20 more members. We've entered them into Member Hub, and when we sent this check number to the state to be processed, but you just would not include them on that line 18.
In the member line. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Kimberly, any chance would we be able to get a copy of that spreadsheet with the formulas already in it? Do we have to create it ourselves?
Yes, I think Jean had put that in the chat earlier, but we could put that in again. It'll populate everything for you. Like, it is the most fantastic thing ever. And it's got all the instructions on the side as to what line they need to go on the audit form.
Kimberly, I didn't put that link. I put the link to the audit form, but we can get it and have Susan put it up on the website today.
Okay.
That would be fantastic. Thank you.
All right, some great questions. Do we have any others that may have a question or just general information? So we have Julie Cronin who posted in chat. Where would you record the income for 2024, 2025 membership sales? Or does it need to be booked as a payable to roll forward the 2024, 2025 year?
So if the funds, because you have to put all funds into your account, it's going to end up on your bank statement. So you definitely want to include that because that's what the IRS looks at is every dollar that came into your account and every dollar that went out. So although you're collecting membership dues for this year, you'll want to still include those because they'll be on your bank statement, include them in this audit. Your only thing you're not including is the actual number of members on that line 18, but you're still counting that income. And again, you're just making sure that you make a note for your new board and allowing the new incoming treasurer to know and understand, hey, these funds were collected for membership. So they're on our, they came through in last year's financial records, but they are this year's membership and they are this year's membership dues, and whether they've been paid or not already by this check or if they weren't paid yet. And at the moment that July 1st comes, you'll need to pay. So, I mean, if we put it in perspective, like you're some that are collecting now in May, June is, right around the corner. So if it's like, oh, I had a summer, event or whatever happened on June 28th, and we put it in right then, obviously they're still waiting for their bank statement. So when they get that bank statement at the end of June, it's going to include that. So you have to make sure it's there. You're just letting the new board know, hey, we've already got it. We've already either paid it or in which line that they're putting that in when it comes to their budget and their ledger. That makes sense.
Can I reiterate something real quick? All right, so when we get membership dues that are supposed to go towards the next year, so if you send, you get members for next year that you're collecting for now, and those dues that we get for 24, 25 will be, it's considered a deferment. So we will cash, like, let's say you send a check to us, we will cash the check, but you may not see it reflected on the give back site until July 1st. Now, according to the audit, if you do submit your dues to us before July 1st, there's no outstanding check on your audit form for those dues. You will include the amount of income collected for dues and expenses paid to state, so book and bank match. Do not include in the number of dues paid to state for the audit year. So if you had, let's say 100 members for 23, 24, and you just paid for 5 members for 24, 25, you will still only do that 100 on the audit form because that's for the year that you just ended. In the audit report in the general meeting, you'll notify the membership that you've already prepaid dues to state for the upcoming year for that number of members, so they know it's already been paid, and that will be reflected in your minutes.
Thank you, Heather.
Yeah, thank you, Heather. We have another question from Lakeisha Joy. She indicated going forward that if you don't recommend Cash App, Venmo, or Square, what alternative payment method can we give?
A check. I mean, I think too, some have done Zelle through, if their account allows like incoming payments through Zelle. But if you have a Square reader or Member Hub, everything, it seems like that's why the Member Hub platform is completely free and offers the store availability, offers the auction availability. Like you can, there's a lot of, and that one will collect it. I know that one collects through Stripe. And so it gives you a report. The problem with those peer-to-peer payments is a Cash App may be set up and it might be directly connected to your PTA bank account. However, it's also directly connected to your phone number. And so when it comes time to change it to the next treasurer, it's almost impossible because it's not technically designed for a business. And I know that some banks, I just found one yesterday, as a matter of fact, was the Mid-Florida doesn't allow Zelle through their online banking. It's a separate app that you download, or the Zelle app, but that Zelle does not allow through doesn't allow you to do the Zelle if you're a business. So you end up having to, if you can't do it through your bank, but at least Zelle keeps a record. But if you can't do that, then that would be our suggestion, is to use possibly, you know, Member Hub and use through their store, because those are all your records are right there and the payment is taken right online. And you can always pass on those fees to your payees, so, or payer.
All right, Lakeisha, did that help? All right, so are there any other questions? Some really good conversation going on right now. Okay, so seeing none, Jean, was there anything that you wanted to do to close it out for the presentation so that we can move into announcements?
No, just thank you everyone for attending. And if you do have questions, once we're off of this Zoom call, you can email Kimberly at audit@floridapta.org or compliance@floridapta.org. Thank you.
All right, thanks, team. Great presentation. And we just wanted to close things out with just some announcements for Florida PTA. And first thing I wanted to mention, Jean had posted the link in the chat, you know, about important IRS information. And I'm going to hit send here, and the document has all the announcements that we'll be talking about here rather briefly. Again, if you came late, the recording will be available on our Florida PTA website. The link has been posted in chat, and it is also on the document as well. And just as a reminder to everyone, if you have not done so, you still got time. Award applications are due today. We've got a number of local units that are doing great work and deserve recognition for what they do. So please take a moment to complete the application. I'm not sure what time it's due. Jean maybe can chime in to see what time it's due, but today is the due date.
Susan, are you on the call? Is it 5 p.m.?
Yes, it shuts off at 5.
All right, so not to put any pressure on you, but you got about 4 hours to get it in. The next announcement is, as you know, we started a African-American series presented by Dr. Nancy Lother, who's the chair of the legislation committee. If you missed the April 25th session, the next session will be tomorrow night at 7 p.m. The link is in the document for you to participate and attend. We do ask that you share it out with your membership for those who are interested to be part of the conversation, as well as to receive the knowledge and the information that is being shared. It is a 4-part series. April 25th kicked it off. May 2nd is the next one, and then May 9th and May 23rd, which will be the last day. The next announcements will be coming from Melanie Williams, our secretary. Melanie?
Thank you, Lawrence. 2 announcements. School of Excellence, the deadline to submit your final report is June 15th. So if you have not yet deployed that survey, please go ahead and get that taken care of. We'll send an email with more information on that. And this Saturday, May 4th, we will be celebrating all our artistic students. They are wonderful. We have some wonderful presentations, some wonderful winners. So please join us at the Lake Nona High School here in Orlando. We start at noon for the ceremony, and we go through about 1:32. So we welcome everyone. Thanks for your support.
All right, thank you, Melanie. And for those who may not be aware, Teacher Appreciation is next week, May 6th through 10th. And in the document, we've included the link to National PTA's Teacher Appreciation Week information. And if you go there, and if you haven't started anything, there's a lot of good stuff in the toolkit, you know, from free digital cards to posters to certificates. And so a lot of cost-free things or low-cost things that you can use to recognize the work that our teachers do with our students. And I can't go being VP of Leadership Development without announcing the annual Leadership Convention. That will be held July 18th through 21st at the beautiful Omni Orlando Resort at Champions Gate. So if you were there last year, you know exactly where it's at. There's a lot that will be happening at convention. And so we're looking at workshops, general sessions, voting for our next executive committee, plenty of networking opportunities, the opportunity to meet with vendors and exhibitors to bring back resources to your local unit, as well as some very good keynote speakers. And as with any leadership convention, and the other side of PTA is fun, and more fun. We're still in the early bird registration period. So right now it's $130 through the end of May, and students can also register, for $25. And there's a number of different student registrations that are available. So please go to the website, check it out. And just as far as some of our guest speakers, if I can put the set aside so that I can read it, we've got the 2024 Florida Teacher of the Year, Devin Coleman, who's an author, speaker, and a consultant, Anna King, who was the past national PTA president, and Maya Monet, who I believe hails from the Orlando area, and she's a Florida LGBTQ advocate and also does a lot of work with the Center of, I can't remember what that last one is. I want to say Center of Orlando. So a number of great speakers, but also a number of great speakers that we're presenting at our workshops. And as with any Florida PTA convention, we like to recognize the work that our folks do. So you've got the annual awards recognition celebration that will be occurring. You've got our DEIJ celebration that will be occurring, as well as PTA's Got Talent. And as you've always heard me say, what happens at PTA's Got Talent stays at PTA's Got Talent. So please check out the document and the that has been posted. Share that out with your membership as well as your board for some great information and resources that you can use to help move your PTA forward. And with that, I will say thank you to everybody for attending the Road to Success today. Next session will be at 7 p.m. And again, if you need to record it, or if you need to share it out with your board, please go to the link and everyone will be able to have access to that. And I think Jean mentioned that she will also be uploading the spreadsheet. So thanks again for joining us, and y'all have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.